and gentlemen, to the Rats broadcast tonight, the National Basketball League of Canada. It is December 11th, Thursday at 7 p.m. Game versus the Halifax Rainmen. Welcome to St. John, New Brunswick. With me, as usual, is Coach Stacey Atkinson. Welcome to the show again, Stacey.
Thanks, buddy. Pleasure to be here.
Halifax Rainmen going to work early. Number 42, Tim Parkham, with an easy two under the hoop. Got to say, Stacey, early on here, we've got a very. This crowd is definitely into this game early on, and there's a guy to get you fired. Canada, Eric Cruikshank, strong move to the basket.
He will get the old lady downtown and Tim Hortons fired up. She's not even watching the game.
Absolutely.
No, this was a battle, Ben, last week when they played. You know, Halifax got the better of them. It seemed like they had a little fresher legs, and Mill Rats are out for some revenge tonight, I believe.
And Haywood, actually a Halifax native, number 4, with the last bucket down the. Talk about Akil Carr starting the game this evening, which is great to see if you're a St. John Mill Rats fan.
Yeah, and speaking of redemption, he's out to redeem himself. He had a couple bad games in his standards for sure, and he's looking to come out on fire here.
So with 10:28 left in the first quarter, the score is 4-2 for the Halifax Rainmen. Again, this is a huge rivalry the past couple of years of these two cities.
Kenny Jones with a big rebound. And we were supposed to count pump fakes on Kenny Jones. And we got a guest here with us. Maybe we'll get him to count pump fakes. I'm guessing he's around 30 a game.
Kenny Jones not taking long to get his stats down on the stat sheet. One end had a couple blocks and a defensive rebound, and at the other end, talking about pump fakes, he used one there before going in for that, before drawing that foul.
Can you hear me all right?
So Kenny Jones is at the line. Hit the first free throw. I know we spend a lot of our broadcasts talking about Kenny Jones and his work ethic.
Oh, wow.
People have to get used to hearing it from us because we appreciate that part of his game. He's got that drive.
He's a true professional. He works on his game. He knows what has to be done, and he does it. Period.
Kenny Jones with another rebound here on defense. And he made both free throws. Very consistent at the free throw line. Newbie trying to go to the hoop. Battle on the basket. Air Canada, Cruikshank coming up with it. Great ball movement at St. John Mill Rats and a 3-bomb. Kenny Jones getting out to an early start.
He is.
We don't any more by that.
Oh, how many big guys can dominate you in the post and step out and hit that 3-ball? If he needs to bring it up the floor, he can do that too.
The more we watch him play, I like to, we talk about comparing these guys to NBA stars, and Halifax Rainmen coach not happy with the play of his point guard. But we talk about whether you like him or hate him. Charles Barkley was a beast.
I love them.
Constantly listed him at 6'8", 6'9", probably maybe 6'4" max.
Yeah,
but played like a guy probably 6'8".
Yeah, I think towards the end of his career they started listing him at about 6'5", 6'6", and
right. But you can draw comparisons quickly to the work of Kenny Jones, what he does on the court.
The same game, Barkley can step out and hit the 3, or he can dominate you in the post.
So Halifax Rainmen, Saya Ando, number 3, hit that 3-point shot the other end. Nice looking stroke on his shot.
That's a passed up shot opportunity. Newbie'd like to have back, I'm sure. It's I battle with one of my players on my high school team with You're passing from 6 feet to give somebody else a 6-foot shot. You're risking a turnover when you've already got that. You've seen Dabs had that floater going down the lane. A shot. I know he can make 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 of those. To pass the ball to give your teammate a better shot is one thing, but to give him the same shot you already have, just shoot the ball.
Right, and we just saw Anthony Anderson miss his first shot there, but there's a guy who does that very well, distributes the basketball.
Oh, wow. Very
Very unselfish play. But if he has that open shot, he'll hit it when you need it.
Definitely. I don't think he got that off. No call.
A defense for the Rats, off to a pretty good start. And we know Anthony Anderson. Couple games we've covered so far, he's waited till late in the game to really get fired up.
Yeah.
And
still had 30.
Right.
34, 32, another game.
Again, late in the game, so that's probably going to be looking for him to start scoring early. He's going to have to stay out of foul trouble. He ran into that couple games here at home. Took him out of the game quite early.
Yeah.
Newby with the steal to Akil Carr. The wide open layup. He's not going to miss that. That's what he does best.
He's not catching Akil.
Good confidence boost for Akil Carr, who's really looking for that kind of that edge. Bring that.
Sometimes you just need to see the ball go through the hoop, and sometimes a steal and a layup like that will do it. Get your confidence up. As you know, Ben, shooting is a confidence thing. It's all in your head. It's the guys without a conscience that are your great shooters. Does Steph Curry have a conscience?
No. And
why would he?
Right. Just a pure shooter. Kenny Jones coming out of the game, and Winbush, another work ethic guy we like to talk about, coming back in, getting a rebound early off the bench. Akil Carr wide open for a 3. Can't convert. Tim Parham, number 42, coming down with the defensive rebound. Great defense by the Rats. Eric Kirkshank showing up.
Good hit. Good contest there.
Newby open for a 3. He can't convert there. Haywood on the way back.
Nice block. Wow. Got it to go.
Very tough call. Coach, it's hard. It's hard when you convince your players to get back on D, and Newby actually had a fairly good. He had his body set fairly nicely up in the air and just got called for the block. And unfortunately, it dropped in as well, so you got the end. He's going to have an opportunity for an N1 here. Haywood's very fast up the court in transition.
I don't know what kind of spin he had on that shot, but
it makes his free throw to give him 3 time down the court.
Still looking for that breakout shooting game from Winbush, Ben. He's got such a nice stroke, and
we always talk about the pregame.
He can shoot the ball. You watch him in the warm up, and it's 8 or 9 threes.
Very fluid shot. He's just waiting for a game to really light it up, and we know it's going to happen eventually.
So once he has that big breakout game, I think he's going to roll from there.
Rainmen having a real tough time to get it to drop. Rats again playing solid defense this time around. Anthony Anderson trying to move the ball.
Blocking call on number 5, Justin Tubbs. Justin had a nice game last time around. Really nice game. Now, what killed the Rats last time they played was offensive rebounding. It was, I don't know what, I think offensive rebounds for Halifax in the first half alone was 12. What you want to give up in the entire game, 12 or sometimes usually 10. I mean, you don't want to give up any, but your goal is right around 10 to 12. And,
it's interesting too because in all the home games we've covered, even with games won by the Millrats, they still were kind of down on the offensive rebounding side of the stat sheet. So they have pulled off some wins, being down kind of, and they're matched up against their opponents. But it really showed in that loss against Halifax. They're boxing out and being able to crash the boards is becoming imperative as the season goes along, because these teams are getting better and better. And we talked about that first game. You don't see necessarily the best of what you've got on the floor until December, January, when you start getting to the heart of the mid-season. That's when players really come into their own, and you see what a team is made of. And you kind of nailed it there. The Millrats are going to have to be very aggressive with rebounding if they want to win this. Win games, or if they want to win a championship.
Like I said before, when you're smaller, you need to be scrappier. You need to be quicker. And I don't know how many points they gave up last time they faced each other on offensive rebounding, but it was it was around the 20-24 mark. I'm sure. You just can't have that, and it's disheartening to the rest of the team, to the team in general, when you're playing your guts out, you're playing tough defense, and you don't finish your defense by getting that defensive board. I'm sure Coach talked about it at halftime last game, and I'm sure he talked about it coming into this game. So let's see what they do today.
Well, I think the St. John crowd and the Millrats are looking for an Akil Carr YouTube moment. Again.
He's definitely a crowd favorite, isn't he?
Definitely a crowd favorite.
You can hear voices behind me cheering when he shoots the ball. Get in for Akil, and
being courtside here, you're able to see his true athleticism for his height. Number 8 for the Halifax Rainmen, Tyrone Watson with the 2. But when you watch Akil Carr, even just holding the ball, dribbling, his crossovers is so fast. When you're courtside, you get a true appreciation for his athleticism.
Yeah. Until he proves that he can shoot that three, he can shoot that jump shot. Guys, defenders are going to back off him a bit and plug the lane. He was a drive first player, shoot second, and he's really going to learn to knock that shot and be consistent with that jump shot and that 3-point shot.
And Air Canada, Air Cruikshank down there at the other end with a 2 points off the glass. And then he can get charged with a foul down at the other end. The Millrats are definitely facing a tough squad as far as the physical presence of this Halifax Rainmen team. They're a very solid team. When I say that, I mean when they're matching up, you've got Akil Carr quite often with a double team, and 2 guards, 6'4", 6'5", double teaming them. That would be quite the challenge to have to guard, to have to drive into 2 guards that size.
Yeah, definitely. You're hitting a wall.
You're hitting the wall, but we're going to see if Akil Carr can find a way to battle through that. He has in games past. We've seen him be able to get through.
And where his advantage is in the open court. When they put some ball pressure on, and he can really get out and run. Use his athletics, his quickness, pick up a steal here and there.
So Winbush having a slow start. Rainmen with some great ball movement at the other end. Very patient with the ball.
If you don't stop the ball, bad things happen, right? Bad things happen. You foul, your bigs pick up fouls, or you give up layups.
Rainmen did a very good job working the ball. Again, they got their 1 and 2 positions are, like I said, they got a couple of big guys out there running the floor.
Yeah. Well, we got to welcome a couple new guys to the floor. Number 22, Jermaine Daly, at 6'8" from Millington, Tennessee, and number 35, Jamine Peterson, 6'6", 230 from Brooklyn, New York.
Number 5, Justin Tubbs, making his first free throw. Drove to the hoop earlier and drew the foul. Just going to see if he can convert on his second. And the second is good. The score right now is 16-11 for the Halifax Rainmen with 3:55 left in the first quarter. Now, Stacey, you're talking about one of the additions to the team and recognizing his name from college.
Yeah, this guy right here. They nicknamed the human highlight, and well, he can flat out play. He's athletic as heck. I remember him playing some Division I ball in the Big East, and he played the 1 year, then he turned pro. He entered the draft. Looked like for a while the Knicks were going to pick him up. Didn't. He ended up going overseas to, I believe, Greece for a year or two in Europe.
So Justin Tubbs hit the three-pointer down at the other end for the Halifax Rainmen, and then new to the team, Sefton Barrett getting 2 for the Mill Rats. Fresh legs into the game. We talked to our high school players about setting your feet on defense. Mill Rats are getting caught taking off on a pump fake. And once you've left the floor, unfortunately, you're stuck. These Rainmen know how to draw fouls.
We've got no foul for lawn ready to enter the game. Let's see what that 6'11" body can do out there in terms of that rim protector, shot blocker, what they need right now. Everything for the Rainmen seems to be going, almost everything seems to be going to the
early
paint.
on in the season, we saw kind of a kid trying to get his legs underneath him, and you saw his confidence grow the last game against the PEI Storm. As we talked about with Akil Carr, just making a few easy baskets can bolster your confidence. We'll see if that happens here this time around for Fallon. Here, Cruikshank's come out of the game. The score is 20-15 for that Halifax Raven with 2:35 left in the first quarter here in St. John, New Brunswick. A great rivalry between the Halifax Rainmen and St. John Mill Rats.
We got a box out.
Rainmen getting a lot of offensive rebounds. And their strategy of just attacking the basket over and over again is paying off. Anthony Anderson's got the ball. He's looking for an open man. Getting caught underneath the hoop. And the Rainmen back on the run again. And a quick foul by Fallon.
Yeah, Fallon says you're not...
Not much of a choice, right?
No, you're not getting that one. You're going to hurt at the line.
Anthony Anderson, I think, a little bit frustrated out there. Kind of everyone's caught flat-footed. And he's trying to... Very tough on offense to create point guard position when your teammates are stuck flat-footed, so they're going to have to get out there and moving.
Sometimes it's as little as sending a big out and hitting his man with the screen a couple times. He's running beside him, full speed down the court. Have him looking over. Set him a screen, nice solid screen, legal. Maybe do that a couple times, and that'll back the pressure off your point guard and let him run some offense, and let him do some things.
So Justin Tubbs, number 5 for the Halifax Rainmen, really impressing me tonight. He's a very good guard.
He had a heck of a game last time they met. He's a nice player defensively and offensively. He handles the ball well. He shoots the ball extremely well.
And you got to give credit to the Halifax Rainmen coach. You can tell these guys are poised out on the court. Everything from running the floor to defense and the ball movement on offense. Their offensive rebounding has been phenomenal.
Yeah, they get after it. And it helps when they're not being boxed out. We've seen a few offensive rebounds by Halifax so far. You can have 4 guys boxing out and 1 guy not, and that you need all 5. You need all 5 boxing out, and
right.
They've already given up a couple baskets off offensive rebounds.
I think you can attribute some of these maybe turnovers to Mill Rats have added a few players to their roster. They just got out onto the court. They may have not have run in quite a while, and it could just be a matter of them getting into the game themselves and building a bit of confidence and that team chemistry out on the court. So, that probably will come.
Definitely.
And we know in this league that a lot of players get added mid-season, late season, due to injuries. We know that we talked about Tyrone being out with a pull to his quad, which is really unfortunate. We love to see him play for the Mill Rats.
I was talking to coaching staff before the game started, and what's the story on Tyrone? He sprained his knee a bit a few games ago, and just in practice the other day, he strained his hamstring leg. So then, maybe compensating for a bit of a knee issue, and so they said he's day by day right now, and maybe ready for the next game, maybe the game after that. So they'll take it day by day.
No matter what sport you're playing, if it's football, basketball, or hockey, sometimes bad luck is bad luck, and I think that's what he ran into recently. So we hope to see him back out in the court as soon as possible.
Oh, they're definitely a better team when he's playing. Definitely a better team when he's playing. He's just missed. It's like having two Kenny Jones out on the floor.
Right. And Kenny Jones, you could substitute one for the other and get the same work ethic from them.
Yeah.
Mill Rats having to force a shot, running out of time on the shot clock.
Yeah, coach is getting the new guys some valuable minutes here, and I'm sure there's some nerves. They come into a new city, a new team, and
again, the movement was great by the Halifax Rainmen there. Wide open 3-point shot for number 28. We know the Halifax Rainmen can shoot that perimeter shot, so you can't leave them wide open. Nice tip attempt by the Mill Rats. Just wouldn't drop. Winbush is coming back into the game, as well as Halifax native Joey Haywood. We are seeing a bit of a lopsided game as far as rebounding already early on, but the score is close. It's only 27-15 for the Rainmen. But same game plan. Halifax seems to be giving their ball to the point guard and driving to the hoop and trying to draw harm. And now the Mill Rats are trying to avoid fouls.
Nice pass.
There's a wide open pass under the hoop.
That'll get him going.
Jermaine Peterson with a huge dunk. A slam dunk at this point in the game, especially if you're down, is a nice confidence boost. Mill Rats definitely picked it up on defense at the other end. The end of the first quarter. So Stacy, I guess, quite often when we come down to timeouts or maybe the end of a quarter, we love to break down usually either what's happening on defense or on the rebounding side of the story. And we can see early on that the Mill Rats have run into some foul trouble early.
They have.
And you did talk about how having a smaller lineup for the Mill Rats, you can run into that issue dealing with the bigger sized opponent. And I think that's what we're seeing, especially on the rebounding aspect of the game.
Well, I think the game plan for Halifax right now is look, they just don't have that rim protection there. When No Fault Falan's not on the floor, they're right around 6'5", 6'6" in the paint. Let's attack the paint, and you'll see that quite often in the NBA. You'll get a starting center out of the game, and maybe it's kind of they go with a couple power forwards instead of a power forward in the center, and you just see coaches on attack the rim, just get to the paint.
Right, and I think what we love seeing about when Tyrone Levitt's in the game with Kenny Jones, although undersized, those guys can match up with the bigs, and they do a very effective job protecting the rim.
Yeah. Well, it's being a help defender with your body and making your opponent take a pull-up jump shot with a hand in his face. Or it's that last resort is the guy gets all the way to the rim and you're trying to. You first off, you move your feet. That's what you see with Tyrone and Kenny Jones on the floor. You see them get there with their body, and it's either a pass or a contested pull-up jump shot from 8 or 10 feet. But without Tyrone in the game, and without that rim protection in there, you're seeing the ball go to the rim and to the backboard.
Yeah, and you could see just by the body language of the coaching staff and the Millrats, you could see them you could see them discussing the defensive aspect of the game at the other end, keeping your hands up, contesting shots. So hopefully the St. John Millrats can come out on the defensive end and really boxing out, crashing boards, and rebounding, because that's going to be the key to the game again here against the Halifax Rainmen. Let's see if they can turn it around here. So Newby's bringing the ball up the court this time around. Anthony Anderson running the 2 position. And Winbush open for 3, just a matter of time.
That looked like the stroke he does in practice and, in pre-game warm-up.
And that's his hot spot. He loves shooting from that part of the court.
From that 45 on the 3, it was a nice, comfortable shot. He didn't rush it. When you rush it, you tend to miss. It's not the shot you practice, right? So that one looked good. Let's see if it gets him going. Get it in quick.
A nice curl there by number 8 of the Halifax Rainmen going to the hoop. Tyrone Watson. Again, Halifax Rainmen finding ways to get to get under the hoop. Newby running the point again.
Slipped out of his hand.
The Rainmen, conditioning. I don't know if that is the word to describe it, but these guys are running the floor at an impressive pace.
And Halifax is boxing out extremely well. They are making some solid contact.
They are choosing not to run offensive sets, but just to run the floor and drive to the hoop.
Wow,
it's literally that simple.
That's all they need to do right now. Long rebounds and turnovers and run the floor.
Fun. I was at a coaching clinic this weekend with a lot of provincial, local coaches and the discussion around, simplifying the game of basketball. And it was kind of a theme of the weekend was, instead of throwing all these offensive plays at guys, high-level players, try to simplify the game for them. And, it's kind of opened my eyes a bit, I guess, the way I'm starting to look at the game again. Because tonight you're seeing that. Halifax Rainmen have one goal, and that's to get out there, run the floor. They've got the conditioning. You can tell they're in shape. They've got the athleticism. The ball movement is there. And just driving to the hoop and drawing the harm. That's what they've been doing so far this game.
Yep.
I talk about simplifying the game because it looks like that's what they've really done here. Said, look, we've got the advantage under the hoop, and we're going to take advantage of it and drive and try to draw the harm.
It's an easy game if you play it right. And it's just Halifax does a great job of breaking the game down within the game, and even on a half-court set, they're drawing defense and creating mini 2-on-1s and mini 3-on-2s and running it to perfection.
So that time around, passing very well from Anthony Anderson to Keo Carr, and then getting the assist to Kenny Jones. The nice basket. Kenny Jones just lays out one of the Halifax Rainmen, getting really physical. Crowd is not happy with this foul call.
Oh, and we got the Bubbles head came out of the crowd over there.
That's a sign of we don't like that call.
For all you that aren't familiar with Bubbles, it's I guess what best way to say it. It's
let's just say
half hour.
He's
real life.
Yeah, he's an interesting character from the campground or your your trailer park.
Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah, he's a guy that wears the big, thick Coke bottle glasses. So when the crowd doesn't agree with a call, they hold up that big cardboard cutout of Bubbles. And
Justin Tubbs has the refs on his side, that's for sure. He's been to the free throw line frequently this game so far. And very consistent at the line, the Halifax Rainmen.
I think Coach King is happy to see him go take a rest, go take a seat for a minute. He's he's been dogging the ball handler. He's been scoring and just creating havoc out there.
Kenny Jones having a tough time against the bigs that time around.
It's an offensive foul. Yep. Nice job, Winbush.
Rats are definitely happy with that call. Offensive foul called on the Halifax Rainmen. I believe it's being charged to number 8, Tyrone Watson. He's not happy about it. He's still discussing it with the refs. Rats are just waiting for a break from the refs. A few calls not going their way. And again, Stacey, I think it's just a matter of time before we see Akil Carr get on the board here. Again, it's going to be. It's going to get him to the rim and tried to go. He loves going to Eric Cruikshank for that alley-oop dunk. And just off the mark. North's really going to have to watch out for number 11 on the Halifax Rainmen. He's a three-point specialist. Just waiting to get him open. Chris Coyle is just we saw a lot of him last season, and he is a three-point specialist, and they've got them on that Halifax Rainmen roster. And as we kind of go through the season, we're getting to see the players up close and personal from the BEI Storm, Halifax Rainmen, and what I'm seeing more than ever in the league this season are those specialists.
Yeah.
So maybe 3 or 4 years ago you had a group of decent basketball players, but now you're seeing general managers really putting in literally specific defensive players, three-point specialists, and a couple of these guys on the Halifax Rainmen roster were D-League three-point specialists, so they've got that experience, and so that's what these GMs are doing now, and Murat's doing the same. They're bringing in size, they're bringing in guys to run those kind of specialist roles that we see in the NBA now, and we've always seen in the NBA.
Well, you see every team that's won a championships in the NBA has had that three-point specialist. Those professional shooters that can spread the defense for Michael Jordan, for Kobe Bryant.
That's very true.
For LeBron James, when they added Mike Miller and some three-point specialists like that is when they won championships. Is when they were going to the NBA Finals. It's such a big thing. Is to spread that floor, to spread that.
Yeah, and your Steve Kerrs from the from the Bulls and the Paxton, right?
Yeah,
those guys hitting those long-range three-point shots when you really needed them, and a lot of the credit, as the history books have evolved, have gone to Michael Jordan, but those players, key figures in all of those championship
most
teams.
Definitely. Danny Ainge with the Celtics, and of course your superstar Larry Bird, who could spread the floor himself. You look back at all teams, and almost every NBA championship team has had a great center. A la Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan. You know what I mean? And also these three-point specialists who can spread the floor.
The Rainmen are all over the ball, converting off the box play at the other end, but Eric Cruikshank,
he says, "Give me that ball."
He just wants to throw that down, Shaq style, and does. And that's going to fire up the crowd here in St. John. Score is 39-34 with 8:22 left, in the second quarter.
Got to box out, fellas. Just not hitting anybody. It's not a jump ball.
Rainmen are all over the boards with another offensive rebound. Very patient with the basketball. The point guard's doing a very good job.
If my high school team is watching right now, this is what we look like when the other team shoots. It's not a jump ball. It's a rebound. Find somebody and hit him. Hit him so hard he doesn't want to go for another rebound. You keep hitting him hard, and he goes for rebounds less and less and less as the game goes on. We need to make contact.
Well, Medebo's runs his own basketball clinic / school. I guess it's Medebo's School of Basketball, which is has a great group of middle school kids from around the city in KV area. And that's something we discuss. He invites me in quite often to run some clinics with him. And we talk to middle school students about not staring at the ball and it being shot. Instead,
watching, right?
crashing the boards or or boxing out.
It's kind of at a younger age, it's a natural thing to ball watch, and as you get older, it's a natural thing to find your man and check him, whether it's a forearm shiver, or doing a full proper ball backside or with your hip.
There's number 11 for the Halifax Rainmen, Chris Coyle, actually scoring under the basket, which is not typical for him. He's a three-point shooter, but he does have that all-around game, which we know all of these players have.
Yeah, foul's on number 4.
The foul, foul I think going against Haywood of the Rainmen. And speaking of specialists, what's dangerous about LeBron James, watching him play against the Raptors, the Cavaliers versus the Raptors the other night, he's that dangerous new breed of NBA stars who seem to be able to do a specialist in all areas of the game.
Yeah. Well,
and that's what you're seeing at the next level now.
They were few and far between back in the day. I mentioned, he was that specialist that could do it all, and and now every team in the NBA has a guy like that can shoot the three, can spread the defense himself, or drive to the basket, or even post up. A la Kobe Bryant, Michael.
And Eric Cruikshank back at the other end with another massive slam. That's 3 or 4 of them now in the night for Eric Cruikshank against his former Halifax Rainmen team, who he played there for many years.
I think Eric could have 20 points in the game, but if part of that 20 points wasn't a monstrous dunk like you saw there, he's not happy. He wants to throw it down, and he wants to throw it down hard.
He loves us to get out there, and he likes to simplify the game. He likes to set one screen, roll to the hoop, get him the ball, and throw down a massive dunk.
And usually not even set a full screen. It's just it's get there and slip.
For a guy his age, who's probably 36, 37 years old, he's still quick and still has a huge vertical leap.
Definitely.
Love to watch this guy play the game. Norrat's getting back into it. Scores 41-28 with 6:19 left in the second quarter. Number 3 for the Rainmen, wide open.
Seiya Ando.
We've seen a couple open threes in the past couple of games.
From all the
solid
way from
player.
Tokyo, Japan. Seiya he's a nice ball player.
Well, I think we talked about a friend of mine, Will Voigt, heading overseas to China to actually coach in their pro leagues there. And you talking about the hundreds of millions. I know you had to correct yourself at one point because it's
definitely
unreal that Yao Ming's influence on the game over there was just huge.
Yeah,
and
it's over 100 million actively playing basketball in China.
Right.
Alone.
So you're seeing more of them in our leagues over here in North America, and the NBA and the National Basketball League of Canada.
It's we talked. It's the fastest growing sport in the world. It's as simple as one basketball can entertain 10 people on an outside court. And
Norrat's finally getting that offensive rebound they've been looking for. Kenny Jones, strong drive to the hoop, can't get it to finish. Norrat's are back. The Halifax Rainmen back on the run. Haywood. Joey Haywood with the steal. Nice finish at the basket. We said it early on. The Halifax Rainmen are all over this basketball.
They are, and they're getting up and run. It's I tell my high school team, and we run a structured fast break, but which is designed to get 3 guys minimum sprinting every single rebound, every turnover to specific spots. So ball handlers know where they are. Our goal is to, if we've got 3 guys running and they've got 2, we got a 3-on-2 fast break or a 3-on-1, or if it's 3-on-3, we can score in transition.
Dane Smith, the Toronto native, the nice drive to the basket.
In saying that, you watch Halifax. Their goal is to for this interim is to get more guys running the floor than
well, just an overall press on both. It's just a full court press. It seems the whole game here.
Yeah.
We're talking the second quarter of the basketball game, and they're pressing full court.
Yeah, definitely.
Trying to get them to, the Millrats to cough up the ball on offense quickly, and it's paying off in several possessions. So Millrats trying to spread the floor here a bit to create something. Another steal by the Rainmen, and Haywood running again slowing the pace down a bit.
Okay, they're just getting more guys running than the Millrats.
Millrats are happy to have Eric Cruikshank, Air Canada, on their squad. He's been saving them on the boards, making the most of the real estate down there.
There you go,
Anthony Anderson really needed that to go, and finally it drops.
Anthony looking to get going here. He knows his team needs him bad tonight. That Halifax putting a lot of pressure on the basketball. It's tough to enter the ball in the post right now to Kenny Jones. Last game we saw Kenny Jones. He really hurt them in the first half, and they decided to double team him after he put the ball on the floor. Now we're throwing double teams at him before he gets the basketball. And it's extremely tough.
And we talked about the rise of the sport in China and in Canada as well. We're seeing that up close and personal. No matter if you're in St. Stephen or you're in St. Andrew, St. John, Moncton. It's interesting. A very close friend of mine who's coached in his Samuel de Champlain school is a young coach, probably 25, 26 years old, an accountant, but very passionate about the game. He had played at UMB, and he and I talking about how they're really looking for coaches to go up there and run clinics up in Bathurst in kind of the north shore of the province, where other than Bathurst High School, you didn't really see much of basketball. I mean, it's a lot of hockey. That's a hockey. That part of the province is heavy into hockey, and to see the game growing in northern New Brunswick and really all parts of the province is really encouraging if you're a basketball coach in New Brunswick. And we touched on earlier this game that St. John's going to be hosting a major sporting event with 8 sports next summer, the East Coast Summer Games, which is supposed to draw in close to 1,000, 1,200 athletes from all sports, track and field, lacrosse, rugby, and basketball making that final cut of the 8 sports being included, where typically or historically in the past would not have been probably recognized, I don't think, as one of those up-and-coming sports or one of those sports to draw in crowds, and we know that's the case. People are really looking to learn how to learn more about the game of basketball and to start participating. And that's going to be a great opportunity next summer to see that happen.
Definitely. Looking forward to it.
And again, the National Basketball League of Canada, hats off to this league, because they're playing a huge role in growing this game here in Canada, especially in the eastern parts of Canada, Ontario, Quebec, Maritimes.
Wow.
So Halifax with a quick 2 points from that box play from inbounds.
Back to a 15-point game. It got to 13, 15, and they just can't break that. I think they get that down to single digits before the halftime. Well before, hopefully in the next minute, and get a little momentum going.
Well, the Millrats are still in it. 47-32. We know Anthony Anderson alone can change that score quickly on his own. Eric Cruikshank's playing an amazing game. If we're going to talk about a highlight side of the Millrats.
Yeah, that was right on cue. Pass down to Anthony Anderson. He shields with his body so well and draws a foul, gets the bucket to go.
We see games where Eric Cruikshank has his flashes of heroics, and he's been very consistent all game. I said it earlier. He's been saving the Millrats on the boards, on defense, and then your kind of game-changing dunks that can be a morale booster for your team.
Definitely. Nice D.
Single-handedly keeping this team in the game.
possession arrow back to Halifax. A couple stops here, Ben. You get a couple defensive stops and a couple scores, and you get some momentum going your way here. And now you're looking at the Mill Rats up, putting some pressure on the basketball. Teams that press don't like to be pressured.
Defense has definitely improved for the Mill Rats. Halifax Rainmen running out of time.
Great defensive set there,
Great turnaround there in the last minute or so of the second quarter. And we touched on it earlier, that lead the Halifax had a couple minutes ago can change quickly. There's lots of time left here in the second quarter. Anderson's trying to drive to the hoop. Gets it to Crookshank, draws the arm and gets it to drop. Air Canada just going to work.
Yeah, referee saying before the shot there was a push, but I think they're in the bonus.
Hey, whether that counts or not, I don't know if he's going to get the continuation of that. No, he's not. But
No.
I'll tell you, he is in the zone. When Eric Crookshank takes on his former squad, the Halifax Rainmen, he seems to zone right in. And by far the player of the game for the Mill Rats.
Yeah, definitely.
Side of the court.
And he tells them too.
Oh, he tells them. He doesn't mind talking a bit. And the crowd's loving him. And making his free throws. Not known for always making his free throws. He is in the game. He is focused.
Almost a perfect game for Eric.
It is a perfect game. He's done nothing but great things for the team. As I said, he's brought that momentum.
Got a box out. Yes, kill him.
We talked early in the season about Eric Crookshank being able to spark this team.
Yeah.
Either with a bit of trash talk or whatever it takes, or a dunk. And he's, like you said, he's playing a perfect game.
Yeah, definitely. There he goes again. He comes.
There it is, steal from Crookshank. He is loving this game. Coach is very happy with Crookshank.
Oh yeah, he's not taking him out. He's staying in the game. That's
Anthony Anderson pulling up for three, just off the mark. Offensive rebound, and Kenny Jones, a Toronto native, under the hoop.
Nice pass.
Easy two. Mill Rats right back into the game. It's 47-39.
And Demine Peterson making his presence known here. He's got a couple buckets and some key rebounds. Nice assist there.
Right, those two players that came in, they've got quite the resume behind the two of them. Defense is greatly improved by the Mill Rats.
Wow, tough shot. We're just not boxing out. It's I sound like a broken record saying it, but it's a key part of your defense. Finish your defense with the box out, get the rebound.
Tyrone Watson's been showing up a lot this game. He's been playing very well for the Halifax Rainmen. Newby's coming back into the game. Well-deserved break for Anthony Anderson. He just
picked up his third foul, so we'll see him sitting out for the rest of this. There's only a minute left in the half, but don't want to pick up that fourth going into the third quarter.
You almost wonder teams coming in have a game plan set up for Anthony Anderson. They know he's the leading scorer last year, and then he literally can score at will once he starts hitting. And if they get him into foul trouble, he's sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
You're limiting their offensive ability.
Nice block.
I don't know about you, Coach Atkinson, but this is I don't know if I should give my opinion on that call or not. That's a tough one.
Well,
Bubbles is back up in the crowd, so we know what the crowd thinks about this.
We need our cameraman to point the camera up there so that people at home know what we're talking about with the
Anthony Anderson's
Bubbles cutout.
Yeah, Anthony Anderson's on the bench, but he's livid. He's not happy with this call.
We just watched the replay in slow motion, and it's clearly all ball. You can see why the crowd and the coaching staff's upset.
We're both guilty as charged as maybe arguing with the refs here and there. That would have been one I'd argue for on behalf of my players.
Yeah.
Refs might want to see that one again after the game.
Oh no.
But
yes,
Rainmen hanging in there.
We'll get the halftime stats and see what the turnovers are for the Mill Rats and how many offensive rebounds they've given up.
Number 5, Justin Tubbs, wide open for 3, hits it. He's a valuable player for this Halifax Rainmen roster. Murat's trying to make the most of the 23 seconds left in the game. Dane Smith unable to convert. And again, off to the races are the Halifax Rainmen. Trying to throw down a big dunk and getting fouled on the process. Not much of a choice for the Murats.
No. There's good fouls and bad fouls, right? You're taking the Shore 2 points away by putting them on the free throw line.
Rainmen have been very effective running the floor in transition, outlet passes. I couldn't count them. We'd have to see the stat sheet to really see how that really paid off for the Rainmen in the first half. But their ability to run the floor is incredible.
They're sending, 3 or 4 guys full speed down the floor every single possession, and just looking to wear the.
Yeah, it just looks like watching a good receiver and quarterback. Take off, turn and look for the pass and a quick finish at the hoop, and they've got that down on paper, and they're doing it very well. Beautiful pass, who can do no wrong against his former team.
Wow, that went in.
Eric Cruikshank, I gotta say, I've been watching Eric Cruikshank. We talk every game about Eric Cruikshank and watching him play.
This is probably his best game.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's my first game watching pro basketball in Canada was the Halifax Rainmen game. I would say probably 6-7 years ago, and watching Eric Cruikshank and his massive dunks in Halifax years ago.
Yeah.
I never ever saw his all-around game, and we're seeing every aspect, anything he could do possible
He's doing
this evening.
He doesn't get much better than that. He's playing a perfect game for Eric Cruikshank, and a couple massive dunks and some other lay-ins. He's made some really nice passes. He's defending the ball well. He's got a couple block shots, and he's filling up the stat sheet. And and just looking, like the best player on the floor right now.
Yeah, we're going to get a hold of the stat sheets, and you watch so many games of basketball. It doesn't take, like I said, you can start to simplify the game, and if we can break it down for folks at home watching the game tonight in St. John, New Brunswick. Again, actually, as I say that, I do want to welcome everybody from around the world, because as each game passes, I find out there are more and more folks tuning in from all over the place.
Yeah.
So I do want to welcome everyone watching either on the internet or on live stream from around Canada, the United States, and even if you're in Europe or around the world, we're happy to have you here. We talk about simplifying the game, and we've talked consistently about rebounding during these home games with the St. John Millrats, and that's going to be a key to the game again tonight. The Halifax Rainmen's ability to run the floor has been huge.
Oh, definitely. They're getting out and sprinting, and they're just outnumbering the Millrats right now down the floor. If they run 3 and the Millrats have 2 coming back, or if they run 4, the Millrats have 3. It seems like they're outnumbered each trip down the floor, and it's been some kind of a miraculous block, a block shot from behind or something to save a layup. Seems like their only hope right now.
Well, luckily, Air Canada has saved the day for the Millrats tonight, and he's kept them in the game. It's only 54-41, very, very close.
Yeah.
First time ever I can say players really, other than Anthony Anderson being able to pull off, maybe 30 or 40 and a half, Eric Cruikshank's all-around game on offense and defense has been incredible, and it's really paid off for the Millrats, kept them in the game, and kept really their morale up, where things weren't going their way either from the refs or as a team.
Yep, definitely.
But we'll know more after halftime's done and we get a hold of those stat sheets.
Yep.
While we have the time here at half, it would be a nice opportunity actually to. We've got a local high school star. I say local, but local meaning within an hour's driving distance from here. But Coach Stacey Atkinson, who does these home games for the Mill Rats with me on live stream, has a very good basketball program in St. Stephen. And how many years running now have you been coaching at St. Stephen?
I've been coaching for 25 years and doing the varsity the last 2 years. It's been an assistant coach in varsity for about 8 years. Ran the JV program, ran the minor program when my kids were young, and then kind of brought them up through now doing the varsity boys. And we just got done our practice at 5 tonight, and I said to one of my sophomores, Josh McFarland, who's sitting here with us, I said, "Hey, big man, you wanna go to the Mill Rats game? You can sit courtside in the broadcast booth, and maybe we'll throw an interview at you at halftime." I said, Ben might ask you a couple questions like how you like playing for coach. I said, "I'm sure you're going to answer them."
Yeah, it's really funny about basketball coaches and players alike. We might have heated rivalries on the court because I know last season I met Stacey for the first time actually as an opponent. We actually had linked up to tried to kind of start up this maybe an old rivalry from years past, many years ago, between St. Andrews and Sir James Dunn Academy and St. Stephen High School. And I think we were able to do that. We were quite successful. We had some heated rivalries, some close games.
It was good.
St. Stephen coming out on top in each of the games, but very exciting basketball games.
Yeah.
And I always like to tell, especially kids, the younger kids, they wonder, how are you guys rivals on the court and, can be yelling and screaming and running up and down the sidelines. And off the court, you guys are doing broadcasts live for the St. John Mill Rats. And whether it's us working together, we had Damien Gay in here, also another
former Mill Rat.
Yeah, and a former Mill Rat, someone we've coached against. And we just have a shared passion for the game. So, I mean, it's...
That's what it's all about. You watch these little kids out on the floor here at halftime. That's what it's all about.
Right.
And it's to teach the game of basketball, the game that we love, and to teach it is as fulfilling or more fulfilling than actually playing it yourself.
Right, and we know, and part of the reason we're here is part of the basketball journey is actually finding new ways to participate in the game. And we're doing a live broadcast. But we're always finding ways to either work with the youth, the minor programs, or middle school, high school, and finding new ways to grow and to learn as coaches. And we're constantly doing that. We never mastered the game. You never master the game, and we're trying to always find new ways to, to get new opportunities. And that brings us back to Josh. Interesting that you brought Josh along with you, because I remember coaching Josh with Adam Doherty, who's a huge fan of Josh's, and Adam spent several weeks talking about Josh and his ability, and long before I met him, and it took about 5 minutes before I was high-fiving him and I was on his side, ready to promote him in any way I could. And so, ironically enough, here he is today, a few years later. Yeah. So, Josh, thank you so much for making the drive from St. Stephen. So, Josh, you're in grade 10 at the moment, right? So he's in grade 10 at St. Stephen High School. He's got a football background and basketball, and probably played a few other sports. What is he listed at, Coach?
Josh is listed at 6'4" and going about 260. And folks, that's not like an overweight 260.
No, we're talking Charles Barkley again.
Yeah, we're talking big mound and rebound. He's a big, strong kid, and and Josh. We've talked. He's, about the weight thing, and he says, "Am I too heavy?" And I said, "No, you're not too heavy. I would love to get you in phenomenal shape at the weight you're at."
Right.
And in the next couple of years, hopefully by the end of this year, but next year and a senior year for sure, there's not many people are going to stop him down in that low block.
No, definitely not. And I knew that as he was coming up through the.
Yeah. Is a rare specialty in this game now, especially in New Brunswick, and you even see that at the upper levels. You watch Kenny Jones out here; he's got a back to the basket game, and it's tough to stop. Every great team you see in the NBA has players that can score, with their back to the basket, and whether it's Jordan or Kobe dropping down the post, or it's Tim Duncan or Hakeem Olajuwon, or all those great players like that. But I think it's so important to have an inside-outside game, and Josh brings us that with his size and with his height.
Well, and he's got a soft touch. He's got that soft touch on his zipper, which I noticed early on, and this is going back to middle school. But what we've got him here, and we've got a bit of time during half. I definitely want to ask Josh a few questions, just because I know him myself, and just curious a little bit about how his season's going. So, Josh, I got to meet you while you were in middle school at the time at the Elite Development Program with Basketball New Brunswick, which they're doing an amazing job there. And because I got to meet someone from Charlotte County I had never met before, and I found out how much talent is down in Charlotte County, which was phenomenal. So I actually did want to ask you, Josh, what's the difference for you between playing in the middle school level and finally getting a shot at high school? What's the difference between middle school and high school basketball for you?
Probably the difference in the height. When you're going to middle school, you're going against kids that are maybe 6, maybe 5'11", and then when you're playing high school, you're going kids 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and they can shoot the three as well. They have the whole game, the whole package. So, it's different, but high school is a lot of fun, definitely. And just having the shot is a great opportunity, and hopefully I'll be able to develop and be dunking hopefully soon here.
That's a matter of time. I already know that's going to happen.
That's his biggest goal. He wants to
right.
dunk the ball.
We know that dunk. Yeah. So it's just a matter of time. He's throwing them down pretty easily now. But no, Josh, he makes a great point. A lot of either former high school players or kids his size are already wanting to dunk, but we know what's more valuable about Josh's game is what he's got for talent and his all-around game. Right. Definitely. So I guess the other question I always love to ask players, and it's a common one, but what draws you to the team aspect of the game? Like, what's the best part about playing on a high school team, other than the fact that you're playing guys 6'4", 6'5", that have kind of the all-around game? What's important to you about playing for St. Stephen High School?
Just representing the school, wearing that Spartan uniform like all the players before, and when you look up on the wall and you see all the provincial titles, you have something to try to look forward to, and you have to try to live up to that. So every time you go out on the court, you try to do that, and hope for the best eventually. Another year or so, try to put another one up on the wall. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer, and. What I love about these two being here right now, both Coach Atkinson and Josh, is that they do have a legendary program at St. Stephen High School. You just take a walk into that gymnasium and see what's up on the wall. Going back to, I'm 34 years old, but going back to 1997, 98, when I was playing in their annual Ganong basketball tournament, being beaten by, at the time, which was a AA high school team. And I was, we were at St. John High School and walking in there almost in shock that this team had the talent that it did. Yeah. And the championship banners and coaching that's come through the years has just been incredible. And I love walking into that gymnasium and seeing the passion the fans have and the parents and community is. So, Josh, I appreciate you coming in for the broadcast, and we got some good, valuable answers from you. That's good. And
I got one question for Josh.
Sure.
What's you would have played JV basketball last year. What's the biggest difference for you in your JV practices compared to practices? What would you say the biggest difference is?
Definitely the conditioning. It has to be the conditioning. We did not very much conditioning when it comes to JV, but walk into the varsity practice and you have to do 6 suicides, 100 or 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups.
That's just the start of the practice.
that's just start.
Yeah.
And for a big guy, that's pretty tough. But I guess I'm just gonna have to deal with it, and I guess it'll come eventually. But to work at it, I guess.
Like you talked before, the speed of the game from the younger levels to the higher levels, and you see it in the high school where you're at now, and then you see the speed at this level here, and it's just incredible, and that's the difference between each level is the speed. It can be in any sport, hockey, football, even professional badminton, or ping pong. It's the speed of the athletes is what makes them better, and that's probably what you're seeing at the varsity level.
Yeah, I remember years ago when I first met Josh and talking to him about that very issue, the speed of the game, and how when I cracked the roster at St. Thomas University, they had a stacked squad of players. Like they were they were going to nationals every year at that time, and even just to crack the squad, you had to be in phenomenal shape. And I think I landed on the roster for shooting ability, but my fitness was not there. And I remember, guys waiting for the trash can at the end of practice, sick to our stomachs. But you know what? That was basic fundamental conditioning that we didn't have. Before we got to college. So having that conditioning and the training at the high school level just better prepares you for what's to come in university.
Well, we had a game already this year where we had a couple suspensions and we had a couple injuries, and we had a big league game on our home court, and we basically had to play the whole second half with 5 players, and it was a battle. It was a defensive effort. It was a fast-paced game, and I just kept saying to the kids in timeouts and on breaks, this is why we do conditioning in practice. This is why I want you in phenomenal condition for situations like this. I don't want to be, 3, 4 minutes into the game, or even the fourth quarter, everybody with their legs straight because they're tired. We're fouling because we're tired. We can't stop the basketball because we're not in good enough shape. I looked out on the floor. We finished with 5 players, and it was the other team that was tired. They had. We were still down in an athletic stance playing defense, and and the kids really buy into the conditioning part of the game.
At this stage in the game, I mean, you've got good role models now. So you look at LeBron James, you look at the best players in the league, and Steve Nash, who's injured. We talked about him previous to this game, but his conditioning has always been there. He's put that extra effort in the summers off, and especially at the NBA level, I believe it's the Utah Jazz have run into a lot of injury. They're having to go to signing players and not even on their D-League rosters to fill their bench. And those guys have to be fit and ready no matter where you are in the world, and you're getting called up to play in the NBA. Your fitness has got to be there.
Yeah. You're jumping higher when you're in shape. You're faster when you're in shape. I watched my son play college ball a couple years back down in Southern Maine, and he had a wrist injury his second season and went back his second semester. Kept at him. Zach, you got to get in shape. You got to run. You got to get out and play. His running, his conditioning was playing the game of basketball is what he loves to do. And because he broke his wrist, he wasn't getting that conditioning, and he went back in bad shape. His jumping was about 6 inches lower, and his speed wasn't there. But when you're in shape, you're quicker, you're jumping higher, and the game's a lot easier.
Definitely, and so you're seeing,
Kenny Jones with 2 more pump fakes.
Kenny Jones
and a basket.
The workhorse.
Yeah.
Early.
I said, Josh, I want you to count Kenny Jones' pump fakes from the start of the game to finish. And Josh has them up to 5, I think now. 5 pump fakes for 60.
So Kenny Jones off to an early start for the St. John Mill Rats. Great defense by the Rats coming off after the first half. Newby right to the hoop for 2 points.
Here we go. We're down to
single digits. Didn't take very long.
They got the start they wanted.
We're approaching the 11-minute mark in the third quarter. Mill Rats off to a great start.
Ooh,
Halifax Rainmen hitting the 3-point shot.
That quieted the crowd a little bit.
Although it was, the defense was there that time around, so that's good. Akil Carr back out in the court, seeing what he can do. Can't seem to get that jumper to drop. You're not seeing the typical Akil Carr who likes to kind of slash to the hoop tonight.
Yeah, illegal screen. Yeah, he was moving. He can't complain about it.
28's going to have to be careful talking with the ref about that one. An offensive foul was charged to the Halifax Rainmen. Again, welcome to everybody from around North America and around the world to the National Basketball League of Canada's game. St. John Mill Rats versus the Halifax Rainmen here in St. John, New Brunswick. This crowd on a Thursday evening is fired up. A very close game. 57-45 for the Rainmen. The Mill Rats came out
Rats definitely come out with a defensive intensity they didn't have for most of the first half, and you're right away you're looking at double teaming the basketball and not letting them run their sets and get the ball in comfortable spots. Kind of what Halifax was doing to the Rats the first half.
Newbie is right up in the face of the point guard of the Halifax Rainmen. The defense much better the second half.
Much better.
You can see as that forced shot, unfortunate tip off the Rats, but the defense is much better. Keelcar and Newbie at the 1 and 2 positions. And you've got Anthony Anderson out there, so really a small lineup the Rats have out on the floor, but really pressing and defense paying off. It looks like two players got away with, well, one player got away with the travel violation.
We got him.
We got the second.
One. Yeah.
But again, the result of good defense. Didn't take long. Quick steal. Keelcar had it taken away by number 2 in the Halifax Rainmen, Pedro, with a quick steal from Keelcar.
Keel not happy with himself there. He
just, talking about simplifying the game. We talk to kids all the time about keeping their head up when they're dribbling. He just got caught with his head down for a split second. Yeah. And a split second, unfortunately, at this level is too long.
Sometimes if they're forcing you right, just go right. Simple as that.
Right.
We cross the ball over when they're forcing us right or forcing us left. It's when you turn it over.
He's got the ball handling skills to get past that guard.
And the speed, it's especially in the back court. If he's going to force you one way or the other, just take it. Use your speed.
Kenny Jones, unfortunately, getting called with the travel. Right idea, though. Keelcar trying to get the ball into Kenny Jones. We know under the basket he's dangerous. With Eric Cruikshank crashing, bad option. Get the ball into those two at this point in the game. We know Eric Cruikshank's having probably one of the best games of his career, it's looking like so far in that first half. And there he is with another steal. Air Canada taking flight early.
All over the court today.
Great ball movement by the St. John Rats. Anthony Anderson's wide open. Looks like he got hit there on that shot. Real tough call. Didn't happen. Number 11's wide open for the Rainmen. You don't want to leave him open. He is a three-point shooter. Anthony Anderson's trying to do what he loves to do, and that's to drive and draw that harm, but he can't get a whistle to go his way.
Just not getting it today. But a lot of time left here, Ben.
Rainmen still with the same game plan, simplify, driving to the hoop to try to draw the.
Oh, he was hit. Yeah, that was a late whistle, but the right call. He was hitting the forearm.
Okay, so we're seeing a lot of the same from the Rainmen, except the Rats readjusting their game plan on defense. It's you see more of that man-to-man D, and really if they're getting beat, you've got a guy coming over to help. So your small forwards. Power forwards coming over to help. Somebody gets by you. And down at the other end, Murat's kind of taking, one from the playbook of the Halifax Rainmen and
outnumbering them on the break.
Right. So Newbie's at the line. Very, very good free throw shooter, making his first.
Yeah. Boys, he's been, and we said last week and the week before.
Great addition.
What a great addition to this team.
Yeah.
Jabs Newbie. He is tough. He doesn't even. He he doesn't look sideways at the officials. He just plays basketball, and he plays as hard as he can, and does it well.
Coaches love a humble player, maybe an interesting word to use, but humble meaning he's got that composure and he's got, the attitude every coach wants. And at the other end, Anthony Anderson finally gets on the board.
Draws the foul again.
And he's kind of looking like it's about time.
Yeah. And he comes at you with speed and finesse, and he jumps, he'll jump into you, draw the foul, and as the game goes on, you just see players getting out of the way. I know he's going to jump into me and draw foul.
Yeah, for a guy 5'11", he's got quite the hang time, so he'll hold off on that shot until you actually hit him.
Yeah.
And there he is with a 3-point play, and his score sheet goes up quickly if he's able to get that foul called. Let's see who this one goes on against the Halifax, against the Millrats. It is against Newby.
Second foul for him.
So the Millrats are not too worried about that at the moment.
No,
they're hoping it wasn't to Anthony Anderson with that foul.
Yeah. Anderson's got 3. Coach doesn't want him picking his 4th up. Not yet. That's for sure.
Yeah. Coach is always weighing the pros and cons to your leading scorer and how to best utilize them. Millrats are really making the most of Anthony Anderson in the second half, and we know he does show up second half, and he will.
Yeah, Mr. Second Half.
Akil Carr making a great move to the hoop, can't get it to drop. Akil Carr is trying to create. He's out there, he's being aggressive. We're seeing a lot better game from him than past several games we've seen him play.
Yeah.
Wide open is Anthony Anderson.
They just run the floor, don't they? He just grabbed his arms. All he did. That's a basketball.
Hard foul.
Just a basketball play.
They didn't want that easy layup.
No, he grabbed his arms. Basketball play. There's nothing flagrant there.
They're going to talk about a flagrant.
Well, I guess the referee had a different opinion. He said it was an unsportsmanlike and intentional foul. I mean, most fouls are intentional, but
if you watch the NBA game, and someone like Kobe Bryant, I'm not the biggest fan of Kobe Bryant, but what I do love about his game is his ability to add. Josh from St. Stephen High School is not too happy with my opinion about Kobe Bryant, but I'll side with you on this. Kobe Bryant adds a dramatic effect to his shot where he's almost able to act out something in addition. He made
almost like he was gut shot or something.
Exactly. He gets hit but can make it look like a train hit him, and all of a sudden your average foul turns into a flagrant or a technical.
Yeah.
And that seems to be what just happened. Millrats open for an open dunk.
An unsportsmanlike foul, a couple shots to get the ball back.
Winbush, we love watching Winbush play the game. We love watching him in warm-up, especially because of the shooting.
Oh yeah.
But his confidence is definitely soaring here in this game.
This might have been the spark. A little skirmish down there, and then after, led to a dunk.
And a rare uncontested kind of dunk. I mean, normally the Rainmen are back on that play. Another steal by Akil Carr.
This is what we're talking about with Akil Carr. Now
that definitely looked like a flagrant foul. That's going to be almost beyond obvious. You don't have to act that one out, Coach.
Two in the ball.
Refs are not going to risk letting this game get out of control. We know the rivalry is there. Things are getting heated. And Rainmen coach is drawing his players in to say, hey, look, get composed, cool down a bit.
We're talking about Akil Carr's size, where he has the advantage is what you just saw between the 3-point line and the half-court line, and he's just so active, he's so fast, and he created the last 2 turnovers.
And the point you made earlier this season about Akil Carr having the vertical equivalence of someone, maybe twice his size.
Yeah, he's shooting the ball from 10 feet in the air.
Right.
When he's releasing that ball, driving to the paint. Different than anybody 6'5" or 6'8".
So although Keel's not getting all of them to drop, even that last move to the hoop was impressive. His little spin move to the basket, getting himself some space. Milrat's coach getting himself a bit of hot water here.
So there's a coaching line. They don't usually say anything to the coaches until there's some complaining, and then he just asked him politely to step back beyond that coach's box.
The Milrat's head coach is not he does a very good job of staying composed. That's actually what he does best, I think.
Yeah, and you can see in his players.
Newbies getting to the hoop. They're in transition, the Milrats.
Here we go, folks. We got a 10-point game. That was the spark, the little momentum they needed. And Winbush with a tie-up.
A jump ball is exactly what will get you back into the game. Showing both battling.
Yep, definitely.
You may have seen a couple flagrant fouls happen here early, a minute or two ago, but you know what?
It's got the crowd back into it.
It's got the crowd back into it. Both teams are now laying out their bodies flat out for their teams.
Yeah. I'm kind of interested to see how Ando for Halifax handles this extra pressure. 8-second backcourt violation. He only had 1 second to get it over, and they threw it in the backcourt.
Another result of good defense.
Yeah. Watching Ando in that first half, when there was a pressure up tight on him, he was pushing off with that off arm. Interested to see if it's going to be called on him the second half here.
Well, Keel Carr is looking a lot more composed. He's looking definitely confident. And he's got a hold of it now. Let's see what he does.
Nice pass.
Beautiful pass, Anthony Anderson. And Keel Carr showing up.
8-point game.
The Crime Stopper is back. Both of us we were excited to see Keel Carr get on the court first game.
Yeah.
Milrats have put him back into this game, got him the quality minutes.
Get him in quick.
And he's had some really impressive with nice passes. Very, very nice to see him get back into the game.
Media timeout, Ben, and Coach King, I think, is happy to get this media timeout and get his players a minute and a half rest here. They've been working hard.
Well, the story of the third quarter, not the Halifax Rainmen, but the St. John Milrats and their ability to refocus at half. So Coach King obviously went into halftime, into the locker room, said, you know what, guys, let's refocus. We see what game plan they're running. The Halifax Rainmen, they're running the floor. Let's see how we can effectively stop that from happening. And we're seeing a great effort by the Milrats to slow down the Rainmen, and we're seeing turnovers. Turnovers turn into those fast break efforts, and Milrats are getting some easy looks at the hoop.
Yeah, they are. Like I said, the first half, teams that press don't like to be pressed, and you're watching the Milrats come out in the second half here and putting some added pressure on the basketball, running some double teams, and Halifax not handling it real well right now. The few baskets they have been just off of not working for the Milrats, and helter-skelter basketball in the paint, and getting something up there.
Well, it's going to be a matter for the Halifax Rainmen and how they handle the pressure of this obviously hyped or pumped up Milrats team, and this crowd, we can barely even talk over them.
They're getting into it here now. It's a little chippiness on the floor, and really got the fans involved, and players are playing at a different level. And at this level, it's who wants it more, right? Who's going to work harder? Who is going to fight harder? Who is going to scrap for the basketball and work hard on defense?
So let's see what the Milrats do here. Anthony Anderson's got the ball, very dangerous. Second half. And Anderson chose to sit patiently there, just off the side of the block, gets it into their big man.
Number 22, Jermaine Daly, with a nice drive to the basket, going to the line for two.
Very solid addition, both players actually.
Very.
Again, I mean, he's he may be fairly new to the team. He might be fairly new to playing recently, but we know muscle memory, and not just muscle memory, but just having that experience that he's got in the background.
Nice tip in by Winbush.
It won't take long for him to get back into the flow of the game.
No, it won't. It won't. And it's tough if you've ever, joined even, a new men's league team. You're playing with new guys, and it's tough. It's tough to determine how many shots you think you should be taking. You don't want to seem like a ball hog. You want to get into the offensive flow, learn the offense. Right at the shot clock buzzer.
You know what? That's a tough hoop, and a good hoop for number 42 on the Halifax Rainmen, Tim Parkham. Scores 70-60 for the Halifax Rainmen. And the frustration of the Halifax Rainmen showing again down on the defensive end.
Yeah, it is.
Rainmen coach is not happy right now with the...
Akil Carr putting himself together a nice little game in the second half. And, offensively, he's getting to the paint like Halifax did in the first half and finding the open guy.
Well, Akil and Anderson are actually really attacking from the wing. They're really getting down deep and really looking for that bounce pass or that open look. And playing smart basketball.
Travel, little hop.
Travel call early on their big man trying to take that long range three.
Hop, skip, and a jump there.
Again, it's a mental fitness challenge out there for the Halifax Rainmen. Whether or not you can weather the storm of this. Every game we talk about the rhythm of the game, and we're related to the flows and the ups and downs of pro basketball. And the St. John Millrats. Akil Carr is feeding off of that. The Crime Stopper, driving, slashing through, getting past the guys we talked about, or maybe physically bigger or stronger, and finding a way to get through them.
Yep.
Great job by Akil Carr. Rainmen get another offensive rebound.
And a putback.
And scoring that bucket for two.
That right down to Kenny Jones. He's going to work.
You gotta love Kenny Jones. He's
tough.
The way he positions his body. I think you spent a good portion of one game talking about his positioning, his pump fakes and his positioning. It's just really fun to watch. Here we are mid-play, and Carr getting hammered by one of the Halifax Rainmen. No call being given. Halifax having to force up long three-point shots. Kenny Jones with a big rebound. And here's the Crime Stopper going to work again. Wow. Just trickles out. But you know what? He doesn't mind. He just wants to go to the free throw line. That's where you can draw instant comparisons to Anthony Anderson between those two guys.
Yeah.
They have that same style of play. Anderson is known for his three-point shooting. He can do that. But with regards to slashing and driving to the hoop and hang time.
And using his getting the contact. And, Akil does a nice job of that too.
Big difference in Akil Carr from the first half to second. He's working himself back into the game. I mean, we haven't seen him show up as of late. But in this second half, we're seeing the YouTube-style play of Akil Carr, which we got to talk about that game one. As coaches, you want to somewhat criticize, I guess, a new player coming in who you're relying on YouTube videos to see him play, and whether or not that's the real deal. And game one, we saw him have a productive game, and I think off the court he had some issues with family matters and so forth, and that seemed to strike home with him. He's got a young family like me. He's got a young daughter, and I'm sure being far from home, that's going to affect you as well, especially being away from your daughter. So I think several things were affecting him maybe on the emotional side of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's had enough time. The coaches have stuck with him. He's had that healing time, and now he's he's back out there and he's back focused.
We talked before about how much of that game is how much of the game of basketball is mental. And, it's pretty near all of it. 99% of it. And if you're not in the right frame of mind, you're not going to take care of all the little things. And Akil's back. I think I can see fans really appreciating his second half, and I sure as heck can tell you the coaching staff is happy that.
Oh yeah, he's shaking off. He's shaking off that little slump that he was in, and you know when a player has gotten out of their slump when they get to the free throw line, and you can tell by their the way he shot his free throws. It was like I'm back to my norm. This is what I do. And the Rainmen having a difficult time, as we said, weathering the storm of the NORADs. Some physical play still happening. We talked about these rhythm and flows of the game, and the NORADs keep climbing this mountain of success, and the Rainmen resorting to very physical harms at the and fouls at the other end.
Well, Kenny's a big, strong guy, so you're not going to slap him on the wrist and make him miss a layup. So you gotta throw a couple bear hugs and
risk your own health and body.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a tough player. You wouldn't want to have to run into him under the basket.
No. We're down to a 5-point game here, Ben, with 2 minutes to go.
I gotta say, I rarely say this about someone's attire, but I gotta say, I enjoy Kenny Jones' kicks. His pink kicks too, they're pretty nice. Yeah. But he's got the game to go with it.
Oh yeah.
This is an interesting one, ladies and gentlemen.
Crookshank.
There is a ball
through the net.
stuck on the top of the rim.
Yeah, well,
Crookshank popped one back out of the mesh, and they're going to count the 2 points for the Halifax Rainmen. That was interesting to see.
He does it nonchalantly, doesn't he? Just sticks that hand up through the net and make it look like.
I'm sure he gets away with 2 or 3 of them a game, and you don't know what's.
Could have got away with one here and there.
Well, the first mistake of the game for Crookshank, which has not been very, they've been very few and far between.
Yeah, let's see
throwing away a pass at this juncture of the games.
But as you know, with Eric, if he makes a mistake, he sure as heck tries to make it up on the other end of the floor.
Oh, he'll acknowledge it too, so he'll accept it.
Yeah. If you watch and see if he doesn't get a defensive stop.
Very aggressive defense by the NORADs. Hand up, Kenny Jones.
It's already out of bounds, yeah.
Kenny Jones, very good job contesting that 3-point shot, not putting a hand on the body, a hand on the ball. Making the job easy on the refs. That's a tough job, is making that call. Somebody's playing physical on D, shooting a 3. That tells you how well the defense is going for the NORADs.
Big shot.
We talked about them the NORADs climbing this mountain of success at the moment, and they are just on a roll.
Oh.
Everyone feeding off this positive momentum. Crookshank with a huge block. Air Canada taking flight to block that from 15 feet up. Kenny Jones right to the basket. You can't stop that freight train of Kenny Jones. He is just, get out of my way, or else you're going to be laying flat on. I'm trying to allow this fan to actually get some of this mic time, because he's got it. He's got some great calls from the rows back here behind us. Just reinstating what we, or reinforcing, I guess, what we've been saying the past couple of minutes. Stacey, we talk about the ups and downs of the game and how you get into these flows of, offensive excellence, and the NORADs are right.
Oh yeah, 5-point game here. Kenny's few at the line here. This could be. be a couple-point game here in the last couple minutes. So he knocks the free throws down.
Well, the Mill Rats have definitely put themselves right back into the game. It's 74-7 now that Kenny Jones free throw. Very close game, ladies and gentlemen. Tuning in now to this Thursday evening game. It's been a crazy one in a good way.
Oh yeah, it's been a physical battle.
The physical battle. Those of you out there that don't think the game of basketball is a physical one, Kenny Jones just took flight for a massive two-handed dunk.
Yeah,
This crowd is loving this Thursday night.
He's inside the circle. In the circle.
Again, this feeds right into our kind of overall theme of this game tonight. Very physical basketball game, even as one of the Rainmen went to the basket for that two-point conversion. Quite a bit of harm and physical game going on out there. I think Coach of the Mill Rats is trying to figure out, discussing with the ref, keep this game under control. We don't want any injuries. We've got Levitt already out with a hamstring injury.
Yeah. Well, we talked about people that don't think this is a physical game come guard Kenny Jones in the block and see.
I mentioned it earlier. I played a lot of basketball. I'm still playing men's league, and if he gets thrown into our league, I'm subbing out. The Crime Stopper YouTube sensation.
Here he goes. Yeah.
Akiokar with his multicolored kick sound now.
He's back, man. He's back.
He is back on the attack.
Yeah. Good for the Mill Rats.
Mill Rats just
like I said,
ecstatic with the fact that he is showing up. His confidence is back up there.
He's just so quick. Oh, God,
explosive move to the basket. Oh, Halifax. I'll tell you, that basket went for number 11, Kyle, sorry. And but it was a tough one. That was a contested shot. Yeah, a lot of these players, Damian Gay touched on it, a lot of these players can be in the most awkward of positions and still make a basket because they're so talented.
Oh, yeah.
But wow, I got to say, this, for a Thursday night game of basketball, this has been incredible.
Oh, it's been fast-paced, at times all-out brawl, and it's been exciting to watch. And we're in a 5-point game, starting the fourth quarter here in a minute and a half or so, and see who wants it more. A team that's going to win this game is a team that fights harder and wants this win.
Yeah, I loved watching the old school Detroit Pistons and their physical style of play, kind of the rough aspect of their game back in the day, and either you liked it or you didn't. The bad boy type of game, but what you did appreciate about it was if you were out there in that court, you were going to get beat up and you're going home with some cuts and bruises, battling against the Detroit Pistons. And we're seeing it at both ends of the court with the Mill Rats and the Halifax Rainmen. This rivalry and the all-out physical battle, these guys are going to be exhausted going home tonight.
Well, my high school coach and my mentor in high school, I coached with him for many years, Donnie Walker. He's always said it best to the kids. Let them look at the bruises and bumps and whatever on the bus ride on the way home. Let them know, and lick their wounds on the bus ride on the way home. And it's what I think Halifax is. Win or loss tonight. Nice bath, a hot tub, or something after this game.
Well, I'll tell you, this has been just an amazing basketball game to watch. And we still have another basketball left. I feel like we were watching NBA playoffs right now.
Yeah, I wish there was 4 quarters left here.
We knew this was going to be a heated rivalry. It has been every year. But I've never seen the physical type of battle we've seen this evening.
Set play.
Cruikshank
Out of the timeout, out of the between quarter talk, and run perfectly except the finish.
Yeah, Cruikshank trying to draw a foul on that play.
Yeah, he just bobbled the basketball there.
Right. But right idea. He was open for that shot.
2 points you didn't get, 2 points they got.
So Rainmen with a quick 2 points under the hoop, making the score 81-74, but lots of time left for the Mill Rats to keep on this positive offensive trip they've been having.
Akil's getting that shot. He just needs to knock that down.
Yeah. And I think you hit it there. For Akil, I don't think it's always a matter of him scoring tonight. I think it's that confidence aspect. So if he's feeling good about shooting that open three, he's going to hit those eventually, and that's just a matter of time.
Oh, big three by Tubbs.
Tubbs has shown up for the Halifax Rainmen this evening when it's mattered. And I think in previous game the same thing happened.
We talk about shooting with Akil Carr. I've seen it tons over the years. Players with that quickness. It's so easy to get to the rim throughout their basketball career that they've never really had to develop that jump shot as an alternative way of scoring.
Right.
And he's so quick. Like I said before, he's quicker than a hiccup, and he's been able to at any level he's played at to get to the basket and hasn't had to develop that jump shot. We're seeing now that he needs to develop that jump shot. He needs to be able to knock that open 3-point.
Well, and he's a very young player. We're talking about a kid that literally, when I mean it literally when talking about a kid. I mean he tried to go pro right out of high school. So he had he made the effort to do that. Along with his agency that he's working with, and it didn't pay off immediately. He did spend a few months in the D League, and I believe actually had a successful experience in the D League. Eventually got cut, and I think he went home. But here he has a second chance opportunity, as we said, the first game of the season, to prove himself. And look, he's young. He has time to develop in this league. And it's not the end of the line for this kid. He's got a lot of time ahead of him to work on that perimeter game, and that's where he should be taking those open shots, those open threes.
He needs to take them.
Big pressure moments.
Yeah.
He's got to take them.
Players, in the NBA, LeBron James, a knock on him was he couldn't shoot the jump shot. He worked on it. He developed a jump shot. Now he's got 3-point range, and I'm sure it'll come. There's a couple small shooting flaws in his technique right now, and
well, you look at
the right work, he'll get that straightened out.
That's a great move. A new addition to the team for the Mill Rats. Jamine Peterson.
But I think he's going to pan out pretty well. He's very athletic. He's definitely got some smarts for the game, and
he's got that basketball build you want too. Kind of. He's
6'6". He was listed at 230. He's pretty solid.
Well, we've seen him take off. I mean, he's got that vertical leap too. So he's got a lot of potential. We quite often make references to the NBA and how players have had to improve on their outside game. LeBron James quite early in his career would touch himself on that. I've got to work on my outside three-pointer. I've got to work on different aspects of my game.
Yep.
And I talked about the Raptors game the other night, and LeBron showing up with a couple of big three-point shots late in the game, which we talked about him being a specialty player at all. In all aspects of the game now.
Yep, definitely. No Rats caught slipping there.
Well, Norris had a good offensive possession, but we're late getting back on D.
That's uncalled for. You score at one end, and they run in a fast break layup at the other end.
Well, Norris can't forget, this is the same team that scored all of their buckets in the first half off of fast pace transition style of game,
Yeah.
and those quick outlet passes to their guards.
Yeah, Milrat's doing a much better job, with the exception of that last play of stopping that fast break. But
That's something that will get them right back in it again, right?
yeah, it's definitely easier to stop the fast break when you're scoring, And Milrats have been flowing a little more like water the second half offensively than they were the first half.
Anthony Anderson's trying to get into his flow. We know 99% of the time in the third and fourth quarters, he finds a way to get into the game. So don't be shocked, folks, if Anthony Anderson starts to light it up here. He's that veteran player.
Well, they need to get a hot hand. Somebody needs to get hot, and they need to keep finding it right now. Saying that, there's still a lot of time left. It's a 9-point game with 9.5 minutes to go.
Ton of time left. It's just a matter of, you can see the coach of the Mirats. He's down. He's focused on these guys. He's focused on these guys being aware of the fact that this Rainmen team, or a transition team, they're quick and they'll run the floor fast. So you need to get back on D. And the Crime Stopper going to work again, slashing to the hoop.
Free throw woes for the Milrats.
And Coach, you can touch on that. I mean, how important the free throws are. You talked about a game, I think, when you got down to a 5-player roster, and how that can matter. You got 5 players left in the game, and they're having to make free throws to win.
Yeah.
That's a tough ball game.
Yeah, definitely. The name of the shot speaks for itself. It's a free throw.
Right.
We need to make these.
Well, Keelcar is definitely having a standout game. Just as I say that, he throws it away. It's a tough timing, but overall, he's gotten himself back into the flow. But not getting back on D. Keelcar can't get caught up with the rest this late in the game. It's not.
You're scoring at one end, and then you're giving up a layup at the other end. That just doesn't happen.
You're down a game. You can't go 2 for 2, back and forth. It's got to be. You need those defensive stops. And again, we're such a fast
Good
team.
Ball pressure. Jump ball possession, Halifax.
Rainmen being as fast as they are getting back.
Now we just saw a glimpse of games to come with Jermaine Peterson, that last trip down the floor. That was, I wish we could see a replay on that. That was a special play. He just ran down the middle of that floor and went with a great finish that looked very easy for him.
You can imagine the amount of plays you could run around him.
Yeah. So he's gonna fit in nicely with this team. You'll see.
Well, the Milrats playing much better defense.
Oh, no.
But coughing up the ball there at half. Hayward, the Halifax native, has been very good on defense. But we know that about him. He's very quick, athletic. Milrats very fortunate that number 11's not hitting his three-point shots and he's open.
Yeah,
that is what he does.
He's
normally bang on, so I mean, kind of some lucky breaks, but again, having to contest those shots. Defense, getting out. Just having a hand up is going to make a difference for the Milrats right now.
Don't foul a jump shooter.
And just as I say it, a hand up, but some harm to go with it.
Cardinal sin of basketball, right?
No coach wants to see a foul called on a three-point shot. And you talk about those free throws being free. You turn that into a 4-point play. It's dangerous. Very risky. I apologize. I meant potentially turning that into a 4-point play, but this is a guy that can hit his threes. But we'll get 3 most likely for that foul call. Murat's really just got to work through this little period, this little lull, because they've been in such a ride, an emotional ride.
Had it down to 5, and now here we are back up to a 14-point game again. But lots of time left. Just gonna continue to work.
Even high school players, I mean, they got caught up in the calls and getting caught up, still being, in discussions with the ref while the play is happening at the other end of the court, and you're down one man on D.
Oh, definitely.
All 5 players have to be there.
Every time you hang your head, your opponent's 5 steps down the floor, and by the time you hang your head and pick it up, he's 10 steps down the floor.
You got to leave that up to your coach. Your coach can do the arguing. Rainmen with great ball movement there to get the bucket.
Oh, he was hit.
Oh, Akil Carr getting blasted.
Down on his back.
I was about to...
He bounced, Ben, off that floor. He hit the floor and bounced up in the air about a foot.
I was about to talk about how the Crime Stopper went coast to coast.
You want to see the replay here.
Folks, I don't know if that's a replay you want to watch.
Wow.
That's a very dangerous foul and a dangerous landing for Akil Carr.
Down on his tailbone, and
we can talk about this quickly, Coach. We unfortunately, being coaches of any sport, eventually in high school, you've got big kids. You talk about Josh being a big kid at 6'4" in grade 10. You will see injuries and injuries that you're not expecting kind of most of the time, and it's scary at this level of the game where you're making investments in players and they're making an investment into your team.
Yep.
And it's hard watching a player get hit that hard. He got hammered.
Yeah, he did.
And you don't want to see him injured.
Who's one of the first players out on the floor to pick him up is Tyrone Levitt. He's the ultimate.
He's the sportsman. He's the sportsmanship king on this Milrats squad.
He definitely is. Be a different game if he was playing right now. He's that second in the paint defender, rebounder, and scorer.
And you're looking over at the executives here at the Milrats, and the GM of the Milrats shaking his head a bit. Understandably. The Crime Stopper has been a huge hit here in St. John, New Brunswick, and seeing him limp off the court is not something you want to see as a GM or as a coaching staff.
Well, Akil's a pretty tough kid. I wouldn't be surprised you seeing him back in the game here in the next few minutes.
We talked about Levick there going down and injuring himself in that one game. I guess the point I was making is it can happen so fast. But the Milrats are hanging in there. It's 96-84 with 6 minutes and 53 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Milrats
really putting pressure on.
A ton of pressure on the ball.
That's a very tough call for Kenny Jones. Just playing straight up defense. His feet were set. It seemed to look like legitimate defense. Again, refs are trying to clean up this game, but very controversial calls. Newbie's not much of a trash talker. He's just trying to play basketball. So we're seeing it up close and personal.
Great defense.
Give him the benefit of the doubt there. He's having a tough time with that ref, but he's hanging in there. We talked about his composure. He's playing excellent defense. The Milrats still pressuring. They're running out of time. The Rainmen and over. Milrats coming back. Beautiful passing. Air Canada took flight trying to finish that finger roll and missed.
Throw it.
He's
down,
calling himself out. Yeah, he's wondering why he didn't throw it down, which we know he can. But you know what? Give credit to the Milrats for that possession. It was a great one.
think we got a
Refs.
technical foul here.
Technical foul being charged to the Mill Rats. It was a matter of time, really, Coach,
Link skills.
before somebody was going to get hit with a tee. The way this game's been going.
He's been pretty frustrated. He's getting a lot of bumping, banging on, going around up top.
Well, the overall
not getting the call and
the physicality of this game and how that's really played out. Like I said, it was a matter of time. It hasn't, there's been no tees against the coaches. It's been players. But again, it sets the tone of this game has been very physical, a heated rivalry. I don't mind watching that, and I don't think you do either.
No.
But it does put the refs on edge.
Yeah. This is a big three.
And there he is, the addition to the team.
Jermaine Peterson.
We know he was doing it in D1 ball, and there he is hitting it late in the game. Very big shot. Mill Rats right back in it, 98-88. But again, Coach, did you see a hand up on that three-point shooter? That's the question.
Pedro Foster with a big three returned it.
Mill Rats open for three. And Newby, after all the frustration with the referees, talking about composure and his...
cool as a cucumber, isn't he?
Cool as a cucumber, absolutely. Very impressed with him.
Oh, yeah. That's what I talked
Finally,
about. That's what I talked about earlier. That's about the 10th time he's thrown that elbow.
He battled through those. Either, I don't know what you want to call them, but lack of calls perhaps for him. Just trying to play D, getting hit while trying to play defense, and finally it goes his way. At a great point of the game. And Anthony Anderson's just ready to take advantage of the situation.
Oh, he is. Yeah, Jabs just hit one. Let's see. Over the shoulder. Going to call that on Kenny, maybe. Yeah.
I believe it was called on Newby.
Yeah.
For throwing the shoulder in.
The shoulder there, yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a 10-point game. 4 minutes and 35 seconds is plenty of time for the Mill Rats. A few, defensive stops here. Players are still flying all over the floor. Again, these are tough and rugged players, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very physical game.
Yeah, this isn't kindergarten girls.
No, these guys are willing to throw their bodies around a bit. And Newby, Coach, for me has been just a joy to watch this second half.
Oh, that Sayando has a nice game, doesn't he?
How he does.
He can hit the open shot, the open three if he needs to, and does a good job of running an offense for his team. Saying it was on the floor.
These refs are. I don't believe he's shooting. They wanted to call it earlier before the.
Yeah, I was looking up to see if it was in both. Yeah.
But these whistles are lighting up quick in this fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So the inbound play, run by the Mill Rats, was effective. And Air Cruikshank will be heading to the line. Let's not forget about Air Canada. Air Cruikshank has shown up this game. We haven't put as much focus on him this second half, but
it's a little more of a quiet second half for him. But he's there. He's got 4 minutes left to show his presence, and I'm sure he will.
His first half performance really paid off. But he's got to hit those free throws late in the game. He knows that. You talked about that earlier. He's probably harder on himself than most.
Oh yeah.
And he'll keep battling. He doesn't give up. Anthony Anderson, unfortunately, was unmatched. Was a mismatch there on defense. The Mill Rats back on the run. We're going to slow it down a bit here.
There we go.
Wow, incredible spin move. but can't hit it.
Just didn't get the finish. Nice strip
Newbie
by
doing a
Jeff.
great job stripping the ball on the way back. That was an easy 2 for the Rainmen normally. Coach, what's it going to take here with this 103-29 score? What are the Millrats going to have to do?
Well, they first off, they need to get some stops, not give wide open 3-point shots. And we're not getting a stop doing that. And we need to score at the other end of the floor. Run some sets.
Watson seems to be crashing the boards from the 3-point line and getting easy rebounds.
Yeah, good call.
But you said that on numerous occasions tonight where the Millrats get on a run and somewhat feel confident, even though they haven't regained the lead, and just kind of 1 or 2 possessions not getting back and performing where they can. And we know they can. Cruikshank, smart move to kick the ball back out. Kenny Jones is money under the hoop.
Great pass.
Makes that one count.
11-point game. Like I said, they need to stop. And they need a few stops here and a few scores to get back into this.
Any of you young high school, college players tuned into this game, it's a good one to be watching.
Oh, wow.
For that reason alone, that was a high pressure shot.
At the shot clock.
NBL Canada, you're getting players that can hit that shot under pressure. Just happened to the Rainmen. Cruikshank wide open under the hoop. Great pass by Kenny Jones. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to St. John, New Brunswick. This is the type of games we've been seeing here in St. John. Heated rivalries on the East Coast. And the Millrats are still in it. There's still time left. 107-96. A little push off there by the Rainmen.
Yeah, we got to stop.
You got to stop.
We got to stop. We got to score here.
As I said, for you young players tuned in this game, many of you'd run into this type of scenario with a spread on the scoreboard. Lots of time left for the Millrats.
Thought he was hitting the wrist on that, but tough to see from here.
So, Coach, we've seen the Rainmen in the past try to really take as many seconds off that shot clock as they can.
And a foul. Yep.
Newbie's been very reliable on that outlet pass.
Cuts it to a 9-point game. Is that the line?
I have to say, that was the first kind of bad shot taken by the Halifax Rainmen on a wide open look. Millrats paying off the other end. Nice transition pass to the open outlet pass to Newbie.
Well,
He's not going to miss that layup.
Well, if he makes this, we're down to an 8-point game with 1:18 left in the fourth. And you'll see some full court pressure here by the Millrats, I'm sure.
I love talking about that game years ago when the Millrats, with about 35 seconds left in the game, hit 2 or 3 3-pointers in a row to win it. It's possible, ladies and gentlemen. There's lots of time left. So don't be discouraged if you're a hometown St. John fan. Lots of time left.
Oh, we got another steal.
Another outlet pass to Newbie. And not getting the foul call. That's tough.
Wow.
Tough break.
Tough for that lead official to see, definitely. But the trail official had a pretty good look at it. So out of bounds, Millrats.
56 seconds left.
They can get a score here.
They're probably going to be looking to Kenny Jones to score under the hoop. We'll see what happens. Spend a lot of time dribbling. Yeah. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. An open shot here. And attempt.
We need to get that stop. We need to get that score.
Millrats having a tough time getting back on D. 29 seconds left. They're going to have to do something here. Anderson's trying to foul.
Yeah.
Head coach of the Millrats is not happy with the referees at this point. making a very good point. Coach is saying to the refs, you know, Anderson's trying to commit a foul.
And
Pulling and hacking at the guard of the Halifax Rainmen, and the refs waiting to make that call. And coach, you know, if you've got 30 seconds as opposed to 22, that's going to make all the difference in the world if you're shooting threes or trying to get back in late in the game.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and the last thing you want to do is, as an official, is let those 3 or 4 slaps go, because draw attention to the referee and get that foul. The next one's gonna be a really hard one. So you want to clean up on it a bit early, end the game situation.
Yeah, it makes things tough now for the Rats. Toronto native hitting the 3-point bombshell late in the game. 108-102, 12 seconds left.
Need a quick foul.
See if the referees make the call here. A good foul, though.
Well, it was before the ball was inbounded. No, just calling a regular foul, 2 shots.
I think either way, he was still making that call. Fortunately for the Mill Rats, they got that call early. But again, we'll go back to that 30-second point there in the fourth quarter. And Anderson trying to get that foul call to slow down the clock and just couldn't get it.
Yeah.
These Rainmen are not going to miss free throws at the end of the game. Got a feel for Coach King here. A bit frustrating when you're trying to get that foul.
I like what I'm seeing with the 2 new additions they've taken on, and we get, Mill Rats get Tyrone Levitt back, and boys, they're going to be a load. Mill Rats are going to be a handful.
Well, the players who really needed that confidence boost that I think have gotten it tonight.
Yeah.
Win or lose, Akil Carr is back into the game, the Crime Stopper, hoping that injury. Well, look, what seemed to be an injury is nothing more than maybe an ice pack tonight. But overall, the Mill Rats played their second half of basketball was just completely different from the first. Had the second quarter has been a bit different.
Yeah. Sometimes as a coach, all you can ask for is if you just play hard. You play hard. If we get beat, we get beat. I can't take losing if we don't play hard.
Right.
In the Mill Rats second half, definitely came out and played hard. Played gritty basketball. Lost a 110 to 104 6-point game to the Halifax Rainmen, who played very well tonight.
Well, we talk often about leaving the game in the hands of the referees, and it's a tough discussion to have because there were quite a few controversial ways in that game, but at the end of the day, as a coach, you need to go into halftime with the solid lead if you want to hang in there in the National Basketball League, just because of the competition level. So, the Mill Rats are going to shake their heads probably with a few of the calls, but the Rainmen did put more buckets up, and they had more of a transition game, and had made that pay, and it's stuck in that first. So